Welcome to The Poetry Joint, a podcast about poets, poems, and poetics. My name, Stephen Donahue. I have a scant knowledge of poetry, and that is the starting point for this podcast, to see what I can learn.
There's a light on in the attic. I can see it from the outside, and I know you're on the inside, looking out.
Exploring good poetry, bad poetry, sonnets, couplets, ballads, rhyme, no rhyme, grand verse, silly verse, concrete poetry, liquid poetry, words with meaning, words without meaning, old poets, young poets, radical poets, ancient poets, contemporary poets, confessional poets.
Angel-headed hipsters, burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo in the machinery of night.
The Poetry Joint. Hang out. See where we go. In the Northern Hemisphere, June 21st, the longest day of the year, the shortest night of the year, referred to variously as Midsummer, Vestalia, Rasa, Letha, St. John's Eve, Cronia, Astrofest, Yin, National Indigenous Peoples Day. Since ancient times, in many cultures and on many sacred sites, ceremonies to celebrate the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, have been held. Sites like Stonehenge, Chaco Canyon, Newgrange, Tazamal, the Temple of Karnak, the Pyramid of Chichen Itza, the Great Plains of North America, Bighorn Mountains, bonfires, drumming, ritual, gatherings, offerings, celebration, circles, a common thread through cultures and time. A time of magic and mystery, a time to wear a wreath of flowers in your hair, a time for walking barefoot in the morning dew, or perhaps to do yoga in New York City's Times Square. What do they call it? Solstice in Times Square, Mind Over Madness Yoga. Welcome to our Mind Over Madness episode of the Poetry Joint to celebrate the summer solstice, starting here.
I shall continue to plant until my garden contains every named and unnamed shade of green. Deep spruce harboring evening deer to silver-gray wolf willow spray. Translucent lilac just before bloom. The prickle of nettle, tremble of columnar aspen. Clover covering grass. I will learn all the common and the Latin names rooted deeply in Greek. Golden splash euonymus, pleasant sounding. Lobelia, gypsophilia, linum, creeping lamium, lilium, allium, alyssum, helichrysum, a litany of blossoms. Flowers for insects and flowers for birds. Armeria, Paeonia, Delphinia, Verbena, Campanula, petals in a panoply of color. Bacchia blue, splash red hypoeces, coleus and creeping purple thymus, artemisia, fuchsia. From sun worshippers to shadow lovers, maidenhair and ostrich fern, Convolaria majalis, lily of the valley, muguet, in any language that first whiff of dappled spring. From ground creepers to celestial seekers, lavande papillon, butterfly lavender ready to take flights, blooms whose words cast a spell, lavatira, celosia, primula, auricula, scabiosa, argentea variegate, cosmos sonata, dicentra spectabilis, known to the French as Cœur de Marie, Mary's heart bleeding for a dying son, the sacramental meadowsweet bridal veil, then to far-off lands, Maltese cross, Spirea japonica, Iris siberica, lemon cypress, Nanking cherry, anemone sprung from Aphrodite's tears and the blood of her mortal lover Adonis, whom she did implore not to go hunt boar, to no avail. The epic and the commonplace, Johnny jump-ups, petites pensées, daylilies, and hardy roses named for explorers, Frobisher, Baffin, Franklin, the rugosas. And may I never more plant a rose lacking scent or thorn, for a rose, indeed, by any other name. A rose, a rose.
That was the piece A Litany of Blooms, words by Calgary poet Josephine Lowray and music by Jim Jackson, available on Bandcamp. Josephine Lowray is a poet, writer, and photographer. She has a website that details her many projects and connections in the world of poetry. Her work has been published in over 15 countries and translated into 4 different languages. Her poetry often uses nature as a touchstone. In Calgary, she has been involved with the Alexandra Writers Center Society, Parkland Poets, also with the Stroll of Poets, and many other groups. The next poet blends words with a scientific perspective. She has a Master of Fine Arts in Poetry and a Bachelor of Science in Physics.
Hi, my name is Jessica Reed, and this is Woolsthorpe in the mythical Annus Mirabilis. Newton needed to treat an unreal thing as if it were real. Surely this is a kind of romance, discovery as the undoing of conceal. Newton chose to treat time as an arc on a wheel, an extension surely implied substance, to treat an unreal thing as if it were real. We stipulate that bodies take up space. This is a kind of reveal. This was reality at first glance. Discovery was the undoing of conceal. Newton invented calculus, a way to steal, the impossible, infinitesimal, a practical stance, to treat an unreal thing as if it were real. Space didn't have to mean bodily extension. Space was a thing you could almost feel, an invisible grid that a mind could enhance. Discovering that meant undoing God's conceal. Mental and physical space met here. Absolutes can make a mind real, an imaginative act, an instance. To treat an unreal thing as if it were real.
That poem first aired on Pank Online Magazine in 2019. In their own words, Pank Magazine is a literary magazine fostering access to innovative poetry and prose, publishing the brightest and most promising writers for the most adventurous readers. Upcountry, to the end of the road, to a far shore and the edge of things, to a place of amalgamation and unplumbed depths, a place inhabited by contradiction, quirk, and startling anomaly, where the known is made and unmade, and where unimagined futures are born. Pank. What a great description for a site. Jessica Reed teaches and designs courses on the intersection of science and art. Jessica writes poetry, essays, and flash fiction about science. Her website, jessicareed.info, offers a great in-depth look at her life and work. Another poem by her.
And even though it's a May evening in Indiana, this poem refers to, it's called Late Summer in Indiana, as the Earth passes once again through a band of comet debris. On a Perseid night, each meteor spends itself. Every day, the field asks me for nothing. August, each year, I have showered in them fragments of swift Tuttle. I did not notice in December 1992, when the parent comet was nearest the sun, as I learned it was July 1862 and will be August 21-26, my whole life in the gaping between. This summer, we saw weather, lightning dispatches from the next world, striking because we heard nothing. The sky an overturned bowl of gray, the entire horizon south to east unvanishing, streaks of electric light, silver threads stitching and unstitching, not us. Storms we could see, but were not in. You wait your whole life for that kind of view, the actual, showcasing its branched meanings, silenced and caught equivocating. One has to draw diagrams, slice space through orbital planes to clarify how another's path knifes through ours. It is enough to inhabit one's orbit, to fix one point in the relative unfixed. The radiant point slides as we turn on our axis, drifts against the background stars as we orbit the sun. I've become a spectator of the known, of the observable universe, of black-eyed Susans, milkweed, coneflowers, fireflies, and Queen Anne's lace, staring each day, each year until I recognize it, scope, union, and star system sense.
Like in Indiana, meteor shower activity here is best observed late summer from, say, mid-July to late August with the Perseids. Historically, as far back as 36 AD, the Perseids meteor shower has been observed. One of the past great civilizations of the Americas and the world was the Mayan Empire. From around 1800 BC, this agriculture economy grew. By 250 AD, there were some 40 cities featuring elaborate plazas, ball courts, temples, and pyramids. Their culture was well versed in mathematics and astronomy, with an elaborate system of hieroglyph writing. Many of their structures were aligned with celestial events like equinox and solstice. The following poem is from poet Alejandra Cecil Sanchez Chan, who writes and reads in the Mayan language. She is from the Yucatan, a poet, an actress, a digital media activist, and editor. This recording from a film titled A Firefly That Remembers Its Grandmother, a project of Roanoke College of Salem, Virginia. More information on the webpage, The Gulfs Between Us.
Upag-achina. Mishpik initupsik, lek inting wila ulik ilina tutalupik sastal. Lik tialupopik ukak ilinkushtal. Tutsah ushamach tialupag-achtiken. Tuchulen, tushakten, tupiskunsen. Tusosuten tushamach, tialmainchaksah kileken in shimbal piokolka. Tubaitah intishan yetelukabo, tukinkunsen yetelukak ilupuksikal. Pei uchikupak achtik iswah, pei uchik usihsiken inshkichpanna.
This is the translation of Cecile's poem, My Mother's Tortilla. My mother's tortilla. I will never forget the day I saw my mother getting up when the sun was hardly waking. She bent down to light the fire of my life, got her comb all ready to mold me with her hands. She moistened me, stirred me, measured me out, and turned me in her comal, so that in my walking around the world I wouldn't fear. She caressed my soul with her hands, warmed me with the fire of her heart, and it was like this that she shaped a new tortilla. Like this she made me, my beautiful mother. There are some 32 Mayan languages today, variations of Yucatec Maya, and they are spoken from the Yucatan Peninsula to Chiapas, to Belize, to Guatemala, and Honduras. There are over 5 million speakers. There are a variety of indigenous peoples' languages in Canada: Stoney, Cree, Blackfoot, Dene, Haida, Inuit, Mohawk, Ojibwe, and more. Hopefully a future episode of the Poetry Joint can feature poetry in some of those languages. This following poem was used in a Canadian National Film-born documentary, Circle of the Sun, about a 1956 Kainai Sundance gathering. The Circle Poem. Everything the power of the world does is done in a circle. The sky is round, and I have heard that the earth is round, like a ball, and so are all the stars. The wind, in its greatest power, whirls. Birds make their nest in a circle, for theirs is the same religion as ours. The sun comes forth and goes down again in a circle. The moon does the same, and both are round. Even the seasons form a great circle in their changing, and always come back again to where they were. Our teepees were round like the nest of birds, and they were always set in a circle, the nation's hoop. This poem has also been ascribed to Black Elk of the Oglala Lakota Sioux. Born in 1863 near the Little Powder River in what is now Wyoming. As a warrior and shaman, he experienced many historic events firsthand, from the Battle of the Little Bighorn, Sitting Bull's escape into Canada. He traveled and performed in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. He was around for the rise of the ghost dance movement, and he survived the violence of the Wounded Knee massacre. The ghost dance, of which Black Elk was a proponent, was a spiritual and a protest movement across many different indigenous groups, and featured a circle dance with chanting, without drums, typically a lyric line repeated twice, then on to the next, and so on. In 1894, ethnographer James Moody made some recordings reproducing the lyrics of various ghost dances. a reproduction of the ghost dance, not a live recording. The United States Library of Congress lists this as Caddo number 15, ghost dance. The Caddo were an indigenous farming confederacy in East Texas. Armand Garnet Ruffo is a poet and writer and a member of the English department at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. He was born and raised in Northern Ontario. He is a band member of the Chapleau Fox Lake Cree First Nation. This is the audio portion of a video poem that he wrote in 2019 titled On the Day the World Begins Again.
On the day the world begins again, will it be the strongest animal, the swiftest bird, or the tiniest insect that carries the news to humankind, announces rebirth in a roar, in a squeak, or maybe in silence? On the day the world begins again, will luminous light rise from parting clouds in unquestionable power and refract a miraculous prism of color, while the tallest white pine announces peace in a sprinkling of communion? On the day the world begins again, will those suspended behind bars, in and between gray ugliness, in their deadened shouts of protest, float beyond their circle of cigarette burns and crude tattoos? Beyond their sharp cries of where they are and wish they were. On the day the world begins again, will their reimagined selves, the shape of thought, the shape of prayer, bend like molten steel in the fire at the center of the human heart? Will they rise beyond themselves, find their way home? on the day the world begins again, will the cages open for them?
Armand the Ruffo, The Day the World Begins Again, a video poem, is available on Vimeo. Like Jessica Reed, who we heard from earlier, this next poet also had a poem published in the scientific journal Scientific American. And yes, Virginia, the Scientific American publishes poetry. This poet lives and writes in Rolla, British Columbia, a hamlet a few kilometers from Dawson Creek, and her poem is about Pioneer 10, a space probe launched in 1972 to do a flyby of Jupiter and its moons.
Microraptor Gui. Some surmise feathers evolved from scales to keep a pigeon-sized dinosaur warm. Others poo-pooed the notion that only by a fluke did reptiles find out they could glide. To which creationists said, precisely, 1 minute scientists are ardent cursorialists, the next are boreal fiends. And isn't it just a bit too convenient that the impression was found where fake fossil factories abound? And what about Orville and Wilbur? Didn't they find out the hard way that controlled flight doesn't succeed by a series of random events? Either way, said the Microraptor Gui, that first flight was dope.
This previous poem and the next one were taken from Donna Kane's book of poetry called Orrery, a series of poems reflecting her thoughts on the Pioneer 10 spacecraft. Her poems were also part of the Smithsonian Museum series called Aerospace Presents Voyages to Mars, where her poems were set to music provided by DJ Kid Koala. An interesting take for poetry, an object hidden in the vast expanse of space, inanimate, unseen, reflective of us in some way in our journey through space over time.
Eulogy for analog. Out with the rumble, tortillas of vinyl. In with the jitter, the flickering screen, the click, click, click of a digital riff. No more wow and no more flutter. No more slick brown tape from the stuck cassette, glittering in ditches mornings after. No more milk-throated swoosh of the rotary dial, or airwaves tweaked through a Bakelite knob. It would be good to hear from you. As the lifted lid of a music box launches the teeth of a weighted steel comb, plucking the pins of an orbiting drum.
In an effort to provide more background to the Poetry Joint, I have started a Facebook page where additional links to the authors, films, and poetry are assembled. Thank you for the poets who contributed to this episode: Josephine Lore, Jessica Reed, Cecile Sanchez-Chan, Armand the Ruffo, and Donna Kane. The Poetry Joint will circle back to the airwaves in a month's time. Pioneer 10 will continue its journey through deep space, and we will continue our journey around the sun. This has been the Poetry Joint. I'm Stephen Donahue. Thank you for listening.